What's up, guys? I hope everybody's doing well so far. Let's cut straight to the chase. Deltarune Chapter 4's Light World segment gave us a ton of new scenes and dialogue with Noelle and Susie, hinting at their budding relationship that started as far back as Chapter 2. These moments have fueled the fire of Suzel shippers and have spawned memes such as these variations on the evil and intimidating horse meme, as well as tons of wholesome fan art. But beyond the memes, I feel like the blossoming friendship and romance between these two characters can actually tell us a lot about Deltarune. Not only about Susie and Noelle, but also about the story of Deltarune and some of its overarching themes like rebellion and choice. Furthermore, what does this now iconic prophecy in Chapter 4's Dark World tell us about the future of the relationship, as well as the potential differences in the story between the normal and the weird route? Well, sit down and pull up a snack tray because I intend to answer all these questions in today's video. But before we get into that, be sure to like the video. If you are a new or returning viewer who has not yet subscribed, please do so. It helps me out a lot and is greatly appreciated. My goal is to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so please help me out. And also consider joining the Discord server. The link is in the description and in the channel bio. Thanks! In Chapter 4 of Deltarune, we get a few moments with Noelle and Susie, all of which happening at Noelle's house. There's the scene on the couch, the scene in the basement, and the scene in Des's room, for example. If you take the time to sit and listen, you can actually hear a lot of interesting dialogue between the two at these points. But, even without doing that, we can still glean a lot about these characters from these moments. First, let's start off with what Noelle and Susie's relationship tells us about the characters themselves. I find it interesting that these two characters are so different, so opposite, yet are so fond of each other. I've reached the conclusion that each character admires the qualities of the other due to their own experiences and family lives. Let's start with Noelle. We know from what Rudy tells us and from, well, watching it happen, that Noelle's mother, Carol, is a very strict, cold, and no-nonsense kind of mom. This makes Noelle's home life very tense, especially with her father in the hospital and Des no longer around. I think it is likely that Des and Susie share many qualities that Noelle finds comfort in, given this context. It is likely that Des stood up for Noelle to their mother when she was still around, which we see Susie do in Chapter 4. It is possible that Noelle is attracted to this kind of rebellion that is now so foreign in the holiday home. This is especially likely given what we know about how Des was when she was still around. Chapters 3 and 4 give us a lot of characterization for her, despite her not being present. Well, maybe not in the way she used to be, at least. She's portrayed as a tomboyish teenage girl who is very interested in sports, as seen in her room, and potentially more graphic types of rock music, as seen in multiple places in Chapter 3, such as the song Raise Up Your Bat and the fact that Toriel had to ban music videos from the television, likely because Des was watching some interesting stuff. With this in mind, Des may have been someone who defied traditional gender roles and even often rebelled against the strictness and coldness of her mother. Heck, she even seems to have some sort of monster equivalent of marijuana in her room. So I think it's possible that Noelle finds the rougher, more rebellious Susie to be attractive because of those traits that remind her of her lost sister and give her someone to fall back on in the midst of her mother making her home life difficult. This is further evidenced by how Noelle encourages Susie to play Des's guitar, saying that she likes hearing her play, even if she doesn't seem to play that well at all. It's not that Noelle sees Susie as a replacement for Des, but that she finds comfort in the similar traits that they share. On the opposite end, I think Susie is interested in Noelle because she sees her as stable and wholesome compared to her possibly difficult home life. We have seen since Chapters 1 and 2 that Susie wears raggy clothes, is always hungry, and doesn't feel the need to call her parents to stay over at Chris's house. This has led people to believe that she is homeless, very poor, or has abusive parents. Chapters 3 and 4 more subtly hints at a lot of trouble in Susie's home life. For example, we can see what we presume to be Susie's room, and it's not in the best condition. There's also the final scene of Chapter 4 in which Susie storms out of Chris's house after encountering Sans and Toriel drunk dancing. Now, Susie clearly was upset by seeing the end of the prophecy, but I also believe it's possible that she was upset by seeing Toriel, this mother figure that she had perceived as mature and responsible, now acting so nonchalant and getting drunk despite Chris and Susie being missing late into the night, possibly past midnight. With this in mind, it's possible that Susie's parents are neglectful and possibly have a bad history with alcohol, which makes her seeing Toriel like this even more difficult. This moment is even more heartbreaking when you consider the backstory that Susie gives of when she first met Toriel. I think that Susie may see Noelle as a pillar of stability and morals that she lacks at home, and it doesn't hurt that the Holiday family also seems to live more comfortably too. I just fear for what might happen if Noelle snaps and does something that makes Susie change the way that she sees her forever. Moving on, let's talk about this prophecy in the Church Dark World and what Susie and Noelle's relationship means for the themes of Deltarune. Like I mentioned previously, I believe that this relationship has something to do with rebellion, which is already an important theme in Deltarune. There's rebellion against corrupt authority, rebellion against toxic parents, and most importantly, rebellion against fate. Similarly, this relationship is also rebellious. Rebellious against Carol, for example, but also rebellious against fate too, against the prophecy. That's right. Despite what the prophecy seems to say, I don't think that it's referring to Noelle and Susie becoming a couple. I firmly believe that the prophecy is designed around the weird root for a multitude of reasons. I'll be covering these reasons through videos in the next 2 weeks. I have seen many people suggest that this prophecy is not as innocent as it seems. The word love is very frightening to fans of Toby's works because of his context in Undertale, where it is infamously revealed to mean level of violence by Sans. Not to mention the Japanese translation of the girl learns the true meaning of love, sounding a lot more ominous than what the English version may suggest. This prophecy's ambiguity in wording, visuals, and even the capitalization leads me to believe that this is not Susie, nor is it referring to romantic love. It's referring to us, the soul, taking over Noelle and using her to kill somebody in the light world where love can be collected. I also find it interesting that in the weird route, Noelle seems to develop an obsession with Chris, maybe even the player itself. While this obsession is a result of us brainwashing her and may not be romantic, it'll likely drive a wedge into her relationship with Susie. However, Susie simply chooses to believe the prophecy is about her, which might lead to an emotional moment where she has the rug pulled out from under her, but still chooses to be a hero regardless. Back to the topic of rebellion. If the weird root is the prophecy, then the normal route must be the defiance of the prophecy. This is something that I will also elaborate on more in videos coming up soon. So, if Noelle and Susie are able to use the white pen of hope to defy the prophecy, I believe that they can rebel against the prophecy, as we've been trying to throughout the game to recontextualize the prophecy panel and change fate forever. On this topic of the white pen of hope, I actually think that what Gerson tells Susie about the future of the prophecy is important for this video, and further suggests that Susie and Noelle's relationship will be an aspect of the prophecy that is overturned. Once again, I speculate that the girl in the prophecy is actually Noelle. The silhouette matches pretty well for starters. Also, she's wielding a sword, which in the code, Noelle can do, but Susie cannot. Noelle is also associated with pencils, which are known to turn into swords in the Dark World. Furthermore, Gerson's summary of Chapter 1 of Lord of the Hammer suggests that Susie is the dragon and was meant to be defeated in Chapter 1 with the king and not reappear. So if we believe that this prophecy does depict Noelle with the soul, wielding a sword to gain love, then Susie could be the one to subvert this prophecy in the normal route. The silhouette still looks like it could be Susie, and the sword could be the white pen of hope that she is using to write a better ending in the normal route, since pens could also be assumed to transform into swords in the Dark World. The simple act of Susie wielding a sword would also rebel against the prophecy, since she is known to use axes. However, Rousey tells us that he knows, from the prophecy likely, that Susie is supposed to wear ribbons, but she will not do so. It seems likely to me, then, that Susie would still wield a sword, even if she is not ordained to do so by the prophecy. So, Susie will wield this pen of hope and use it to deny the prophecy, writing a better future for Hometown. And I think that it's quite likely that this future will involve her and Noelle. So in this sense, Susie will be rebelling against the prophecy by being the girl depicted in it, and also changing the meaning of love from being something terrifying to something positive. So, the relationship between Noelle and Susie is one that not only reveals a lot about the two characters, but also ties into Deltarune's themes of rebellion, even rebellion against fate. Will these girls be able to defy the prophecy and change the meaning of love in Deltarune's universe? I guess we'll find out when the next chapters of Deltarune release. But with that in mind, thanks for watching the video, and if you made it this far in the video, then you must like the video, so why not like the video and also subscribe? Also, a big shout out to these lovely supporters on Ko-Fi, Patreon, and YouTube, as well as a big shout out to our Fruit Salad team members, Comluke and Hufflepuff Prefect, and our Crazy Juice team member, Tybee. I love you guys. Be safe, be smart, don't be stupid, and have a great rest of your day.